Drop the music, please. This is for our reference. All righty, let's get started. Welcome, friends. Have a seat. Loving Mondays. Those of you that are in-house, you have a special gift in front of you from me. Printed out the RAM stats that are available on the 7th. And also NAR settlement frequently asked questions and a one-pager. Kelly's going to go in detail about that later. Wanted to introduce our co-host, Jonathan Udis. Thank you so much. Jonathan, thank you for volunteering. I will hand it over to you.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Good to be here. Do you want me to go into my section or?
Yeah,
okay,
let me ask you a couple questions first. I would love to highlight Jonathan because when I started with the company, his was one of the first websites that I looked at, just trying to get a feel for what the agents were like. And he's got the coolest photo of himself snorkeling. And I thought, if he's with this company must be really cool because I love your personality and how you bring it into your business. Interested, what got you into real estate?
I was a 20-year veteran in the entertainment industry, film and television, moved to Maui to raise my kids here. And it was challenging to commute back to California a lot. And so I was looking for a new career that I could do. And honestly, I was just meditating and trying to find what could utilize my talents and skills where I could also be my own boss, create my own hours, and I could be successful, combined with the fact that I love living on the island. So, and real estate hit me. And 8 weeks later, I was licensed thanks to Keone. One of the things that's kind of fun is that I really enjoyed the course and bantering and learning from Keone. And at the end, he was like, yeah, we could work together. And I was like, yeah, I would love to, but I love KW. So blink a few years later, and we got to work together. And
Nice.
So it was the best of all worlds.
Nice. And I'm interested, we all are different and we all succeed in real estate with different superpowers. What would you say is your superpower that's contributed to your success?
Superpower, I would say two things. One, like I said, I really truly feel blessed to live here. I've traveled all over the world and we were, like going to move from Los Angeles. And for me, that question came up like literally since we're starting over in so many ways. If I could live anywhere, where would I want to live? And this was it, Hawaii, and then, specifically Maui. So the fact that I love living here so much makes real estate feel like I'm helping people and, it's a gift. It doesn't feel like, I never feel like it's a sale. I don't sell people. I just try and help their dream come true, which is often to, buy here or invest here or sell, so that's one thing. And the other is, I feel like I've always had a really strong intuition, and that's sort of an invisible force in real estate, but sometimes it really helps when you meet clients and just kind of have a feel for, like some people think they want to live in haiku, and then you find out they're not really, rain jungle people. They just have like sort of an imagination, thinking that. Or they don't know the difference between the different parts of the island. So using intuition to work with clients to really try and put them where they'll be happiest is definitely a power.
Awesome. And I'm going to ask this of all of you. So be thinking throughout the meeting. I'm interested in what's the biggest mistake or failure. We like to fail forward and learn from our mistakes, right? You thinking back on your real estate career, is there a mistake that you made at the beginning or something that really improved you as a realtor?
Let's see. I've been kind of highly educated. I got a master's in film, and so I feel like I don't necessarily think it was a problem, but my first year I really dove in heavy to like the trainings and the education and the, and I feel like in the long term that was a real benefit. But in the short term, I do feel like there's a real like just dive in element, like when you first get licensed or you're first trying to do a deal. I think like there's no, it's kind of like that perfection thing. It reminds me a lot of the time of people saying like, well, I'll have kids when blah, 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 or I'll get married when, and I feel like if you're in love, you should get married. And if you're, a great couple, then, and you want to have kids, like there's the best time is the present moment. And so in real estate, that I feel like translates to go for it. Like, don't be afraid of the listing presentation. Don't be afraid of doing something or trying something new with clients. Just dive in, because like you said, we all are constantly learning from our mistakes, and there's very few mistakes that are detrimental. Like, it builds to the next deal.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll ask you guys at the end if you can think back. One of mine, don't trust the listing agent. TMK is correct, right? Had to buy a washer dryer in Washington State in Double End because it didn't pay attention to this little box. I tell you what, I never skipped that box again. But that $800 mistake really helped me actually. So think about yours, and we'll circle back at the end of the meeting. But appreciate you co-hosting, and I'll hand it over to you to do it.
I'm not often in the room. I'm working to join this, amazing, courageous group that is here in person. I am usually on the huddles though, just on Zoom. So I thought today, just to kind of change it up so that the huddle's a little bit more interesting, I would share a topic, a new topic for us, which is, if I want to forward the slides, what do I press?
Just tell RJ.
Okay. Yeah. RJ, next slide. So we're going to talk about astrology and real estate. So what I can just give you a brief overview. Most people have heard of astronomy or at least heard of astrology. The difference between astronomy and astrology is astronomy is just the study and observation of the celestial bodies, of everything in space. So you're looking at stars and the cosmos and trying to understand it, observe it, figure out, when were they born, how long have they been there, and what are they made of, all of that. Astrology is the study of the influence of what is in the cosmos on us here on Earth. So it's often less understood because it's less of, I guess you could say, of a hard, detailed science. But the easiest way to think of astrology is in the same way that where the moon's location affects the tides here. Where the moon is, sometimes a lot of us surf or like the ocean. So if you go out and the tide is not the way you want, you're not going to have the right surf. So it is an important thing, and that's a direct influence of where the moon is located. So over thousands of years, there's just people that have been observing, well, in the same way that where the moon is there, it does this to Earth. When Saturn is in this location or Jupiter is in this location, they have different influences on the Earth. And so I just really wanted to plant the seed because there's a lot of courses on real estate, but I just wanted to plant the seed. It's just another thing to consider. And a lot of people, like in ancient times, royalty would have an astrologer that they would consult with if they were going to go to battle, or if they had to do a big wedding or something like that, because they want to have the influences affect these things in a positive way. And so it really could play into real estate in a lot of different ways in terms of just the way you pursue your work, the way you might have a client that is looking for something. A lot of people will look up their charts, and so knowing your chart and what influences you, it affects your work as well. So that's kind of the openness. Next slide, please. Of astrology and real estate. Now, this is something else that I thought was important. It's not forwarding on here, but it is for them. Okay, great.
This is just for our.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is just a famous Hawaiian phrase, ulu kahoi, and it means the hoi vine grows. But for us, in these purposes, the deeper explorative meaning is that all things are interconnected. So I think this is a really important concept. And, it's important. So whatever is happening in your life right now, whether it's quote unquote good or bad, it's connected to everything else, and it's going to project forward into wherever we're going. So I thought it'd be fun to sort of explore this in this topic of astrology and real estate. And next slide, please. So today, on this day, June 10th, it was the birthday of Judy Garland. And so in this interesting exploration of how things are connected, her astrology, is represented today. So I wanted to share just about 30 seconds of this video. If you could play the video, RJ.
Way over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
Okay, that's good, RJ. Thank you. Okay, so this is a very famous American film, and it plays into our life here because, of course, we live in Hawaii, which is the land of rainbows. It's on our license plate, and all the time we get to see rainbows. What we often forget about and don't realize is there are people that live in a lot of places in the world where they hardly ever see rainbows. And then so today we're connected to Judy Garland, but of course, many of us have heard a rendition of this song done by Iz. So I just want to share this too, because it's really tied to where we live and how people experience this place as a paradise, which again ties to real estate because that's so much of our business. Okay, play this one, RJ. We can all listen to this. I'm sure you've all heard it before, but what I wanted to say is, in terms of what Sasha was saying, two things. One is just, again, how all things are sort of abstractly interconnected. And I think, one of the great things is just everybody sharing their gifts. Like, everybody has a gift. They say that rendition or version of this song that he did, nobody thought of it in that way. And then he did it, and now it's like worldwide known, and everybody has different emotions that are caught up with that. And in terms of real estate, just kind of bringing things all together, I just wanted to say the one thing that I've learned is there are a lot of realtors, but there's only one you. And that's really, to me, the key is that we do all have superpowers. And my first year, I was trying really hard coming from entertainment, to kind of put on a nice shirt and fit the mold and be a realtor. I had a grand total of 0 transactions. And again, like I said, fortunately, I was learning a lot. I was getting educated and trained, but I feel like that's what happened when I was trying to fit into like a certain mold that I thought I should be. When I let go of that and just realized I'm bizarre weirdo, and that's okay. Let me see if there's anybody out there that would want to work with me. All of a sudden, I became a capper in a year, and that has kept going. So whatever your gifts are, whatever your talents are, I would just say, don't hide them, bring them into your business. It's gone really well for me.
Awesome. We would love to have you as our co-hosts. We have June all figured out, but if you would like to do one in July, please let me know. I'll plug you in. And Kathy, would you read our mission statement for us, please?
Yes. To build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving.
I absolutely love this. I think this is what distinguishes our company from others. If you are interviewing and just getting your license, it's a great question to ask the brokerage. What is your mission statement? All right, Y4C2Ts. These are our core values. How have you seen these show up in your life, personally or professionally? Zoomland, anyone? Oops. I had feedback, so I'm gonna say thank you to communication, seek first to understand abnormal heart rate detected. Love the Garmin. And she had feedback for me on the huddle. And it's really a gift. So I'm looking to up this, so your time is worth. And she said, Sasha, it just bothers me to see your hair in your face. And so this is why my hair is back today. So keep the feedback coming. We really want these meetings to be meaningful for you. So I'll highlight that. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Teresa. While she's coming up, I want to thank our board of directors for 2024. We do have a meeting June 20th, the day before Ignite graduation, the 21st. And so hope to see you all here celebrating with our Jumpstart graduates at 10 o'clock. Go ahead, Teresa.
Okay, Y4CTs, you know, communication, can't stress it enough. So many times we look at, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but we look at our text messages, and based on the mood that we're in, we begin to read that message in that tonality of where we were. And with that, then we begin to make assumptions on how this person is responding to us, whether it be positive or negative, and it can go either way. So when we look at communication and we go back to what is that courtesy, what is that etiquette, how should we show up for someone else, what do the words actually mean and look like, and position ourselves out of the assumption category and into the curiosity category, our success will elevate. And so with that, I'll give you one example. I had an agent that I was on the other side of a transaction for, and Sasha said, what do we learn? We learn not to make assumptions. This is an agent that comes up a lot for me because he's taught me so much, and I absolutely wished he lived in a different state. So with that, I found out all these other agents really liked him. I did not share that opinion. As I've learned more about him and how he shows up, and that the world did not revolve around me and this action in the transaction, it changed how I showed up for other agents. So I'm just putting this out there. Communication is two-sided, and you can be the one who makes that change just by coming from a position of curiosity and not assumption.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Very cool. Hey, Liza's on our board of directors along with Jonathan. Liza, would you be willing to read our board of directors mission statement for 2024? Come on. Yeah, right. Oh,
Is it
right here.
here?
Yeah, that's too small. That's sorry.
Too small. Our mission is to foster excellence, integrity, and transparency in all our operations, ensuring that every transaction contributes positively to Maui's communities. At Keller Williams Realty Maui, our mission is not only about real estate, it is also about being a beacon of support and service. 2024 is our year of grace.
Awesome. Thank you, Liza. And we want to say congratulations to Kadriel for passing your test. Congratulations. Adriel is interviewing brokerages and came to our huddle. We always appreciate having guests. Guys, this packet, if you show up to Ninja today, is worth your time. I wish I would have had a page like this when I started. The Aloha Group is sharing their buyer packet, including their comprehensive intake form. And so if you come today at 1 o'clock, Dawn and Lee will be going over this. Incredibly valuable, listing your favorites in all these different categories, so you really get to know your clients at the beginning. So hope to see you here. GMM this Friday. So who's going? Yeah, most active realtors attend. So we actually made a decision as a company to not have jump start that day so that our new realtors could go and you didn't have to pick. So, yeah.
Remember, it's a Kamehameha, not a.
Oh, yeah, and it's at King Kamehameha. And then we have Kauhana this Friday, in, Kihei. The margaritas to be provided and food. And then, Jonathan, I don't know if you'd like to speak to the next slides of Pali Cow Cow. And
Actually, yes, sure, yeah.
So we do Holly Cow Cow volunteering every month, and this month I'm gonna be off island, so April is gonna be leading. She has already given us this wonderful recipe. One of her friend's grandmothers.
Friend's mom.
Friend's mom
yeah.
created this, what we call chicken bake recipe. It's a huge hit there.
It is.
So we could use a few more volunteers this month. I think it's also Teresa. This is your month, isn't it? But yeah, so we want to thank Teresa for supporting Holly Cow Cow this month. And anything else you want to share?
It's super easy to make. It's not very complicated at all. Chop up some broccoli, some chicken, throw it in there. They're really easy and really rewarding as well. So for anybody who comes down there, you actually, not only do you make the food, but you actually serve it as well. So serving it to the community, it's just a really feel good thing. So yeah, I do need a couple more hands if
It's
anybody's.
the 19th Wednesday, and it's 3:30 to 6. So anybody who's interested, just reach out to me and I'll connect you guys, or you can reach out directly to April. They only allow really 5. We only want 5. So
I think we have 2 right now.
we've got
just
2. So we
being
just are looking for 3 more volunteers, and that would be perfect.
3:30 to 6. Yeah.
awesome, thank you. And we appreciate your leadership, Jonathan. Oh, you can stay up if you want to talk about your daughter's.
Oh, yes. Also, my daughter has created this Hakule business, and she's did a lot for graduations, but I've given these as congratulations gifts as well at closings. So she puts a lot of energy and love into them, and she'll personalize them if you want a special kind or color, or you let her know what the occasion is. So just want to promote that, and also thank Bonnie. She just got several of them, and I was really appreciated the support.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you to Christy for coming today and bringing these amazing flowers. We appreciate it. Brightens the whole office. Congratulations to Aubrey Christopher. She graduated with 3 transactions. And Aubrey, if she's on, I would like to recognize her too. I had 4 back-to-back showings on Saturday, and she was the only one who showed up out of the 4 to host her listing. So that was awesome. Alrighty. Okay, now we have some really important updates from our principal broker, Cutie.
I think we have a video for this.
Next slide.
Aloha, fellow
You
members.
can
of the
fast
Hawaii-
forward like 3 minutes in. You can fast forward over, Julie. Sorry, Julie. Okay, right there where the guy starts, back up a little bit. Back up a little bit. RJ, back up a little bit on the video. Yeah, right where this guy starts. Yeah, right there. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we might pause it along the way too, in case some questions come up.
Hello, I'm Patrick O'Neill, Chair of the Hawaii Association of Realtors Standard Forms Committee and Principal Broker Owner of Luxury Homes International in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm here today to present the draft revised documents that relate directly to the NAR settlement. As it stands right now, August 17th is the effective date of the practice changes under the NAR settlement. In this email, you'll see links to the revised forms. Please, please take 15 to 20 minutes, review these forms, provide us your comments and your suggestions. Good, bad, and different, we want to hear from you. Your comments, your suggestions, one of the most important parts of the forms release process. Now, hopefully you've been keeping updated the terms under the NAR settlement and the practice changes. We're going to go over a few of those that relate directly to the forms, and then we're going to do an overview of the forms themselves. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so what we're looking at here, sorry, I should give a little overview. Standard Forms is coming out with all the new NAR changes. That is not what you have in front of you. You got an email from HAR. You got another one this morning, same email. This video is attached to that and the forms annotated, which means the part that they changed is the part I suggest you look over. We're going to cover some of it today. But the annotated one shows you what they've changed. Okay. Look at your Hawaii Association of Realtors email you got this morning. This is the video that we're playing. It's about 10 minutes long, but it covers majority of the changes. Not real drastic. Some of them are some new changes, but it's from the lawsuit that was settled, are now being incorporated into these forms. Okay, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this presentation from Hawaii Association of Realtors.
Let me start with a quick disclaimer. Nothing on this video should be considered legal advice. And if you're a licensee, please check with your principal broker and legal representatives for your company's policy. All right. If you haven't done so, I highly recommend that you read pages 27 to 31 of the settlement. It will give you a good overview of some of the most important practice changes that will be in effect as of August 17th. One of those prohibits offers of compensation on MLS in any format. As an example, if you're a member of the Oahu Matrix system, the box down below with buyer broker compensation will no longer be available. Now, compensation to buyer's broker, if any, may continue to take multiple forms, including paid through the listing broker, which is what we do now. It might be paid directly by the seller, paid by the buyer, or other forms as things evolve. Now, sellers may offer buyer concessions on MLS as long as not limited to or conditioned on retention of or payment to the buyer's broker. So that is allowed under the settlement agreement.
Okay,
Now,
pause
written
that.
buyer agreement is required before.
So the buyer's compensation, right, is different than the commission. Okay, just to know that. And on the forms, you'll see that there are two different spaces for that. The commission is not the compensation to the credits to the buyer, right? Just make that distinction. And if you look on the forms that we handed out, it helps you understand that. If you're still having a problem on page 4, number 4, is commission now referred to as seller's concession? No. Seller's concession involves money that is being given by the seller directly to the buyer. The buyer can use those funds for anything like including paying their agents if they choose. A commission is money paid directly from the seller or listing broker to the buyer's agent broker upon completion of closing. Okay, so make that distinction. Thank you, RJ. Go ahead.
Touring any home. This will be a big change for many companies. One of the most common questions is, if I'm a listing agent hosting an open house, do I have to have people attending my open house sign a written buyer's agreement? Under the current understanding, the short answer is no, because you are working with and for the seller and you are not working with those potential prospects. Now, the amount in the buyer's written agreement must be ascertainable.
Pause that again. Sorry, RJ.
Aloha, fellow members.
So but if you convert now that person that walked into your open house, right? Now you would have to have them sign one, right? But as they come in the door, they're a customer at that point, right? So there's no representation, you could show them around. If you say, hey, are you working with the other agent? They say no. And you say, okay, you want to go see homes? They go, yeah. Sign it, have them sign the buyer's agreement, yeah? Okay, go ahead.
Now, compensation to buyer's broker, if any,
Sorry, sir. Give me a second.
Yep, no worries.
as things evolve. Now, sellers may offer might be paid directly by the seller, paid by the buyer, or other forms as things evolve. Now,
That's good.
sellers may offer buyer concessions on MLS as long as not limited to or conditioned on retention of or payment to the buyer's broker. So that is allowed under the settlement agreement. Now, a written buyer agreement is required before touring any home. This will be a big change for many companies. One of the most common questions is if I'm a listing agent hosting an open house, do I have to have people attending my open house sign a written buyer's agreement? Under the current understanding, the short answer is no, because you are working with and for the seller and you are not working with those potential prospects. Now, the amount in the buyer's written agreement must be ascertainable and cannot be open-ended. The example they give in the settlement agreement of something you cannot do is say buyer broker compensation shall be whatever the seller is offering to the buyer. So this needs to be something ascertainable. It may take the form of a percentage of the purchase price, perhaps it is a flat number, or perhaps it is something else. Now, this is a big change. Realtor may not receive compensation that exceeds the agreement with the buyer in the buyer's rep agreement. Currently, under our buyer's rep agreement, the buyer is guaranteeing the buyer's brokerage firm an amount not less than. So, for example, you may have in your buyer's rep agreement that the buyer will guarantee you up to 3 coconuts as compensation. But if the seller or listing agent are offering 4 coconuts, the buyer's brokerage firm can accept those 4 coconuts. That's under the current. Once the practice changes go into effect on August 17th, the realtor may not receive 4%. They can only receive the amount that is in that buyer's rep agreement. So give one other example. If your buyer's rep agreement states 2 coconuts and the seller offers compensation of 3 coconuts, the excess 1 coconut cannot be received by the buyer's brokerage firm.
Okay, pause that real quick.
Question that has come up.
So they're saying coconuts, they're meaning commission, right? They can't do that because it violates the rule. We can say it in here because we're our own company. April.
If someone is offering 4 coconuts, can I go back and rewrite my buyer's rep agreement?
No. No, and he's gonna cover that. So you always want to go above, right? So put 3% because most listings are under that. I don't really see any that are over that in most cases, right? But you'll want to ask what the commission is when you show the place, right? JC.
Who's going to adjust that at escrow? The buyer side responsibility to send escrow the buyer's rep agreement so they know how much to pay out.
It's going to end up in the contract. Yeah. So the question was, who's going to adjust that? But it'll be in the contract when it goes into escrow. Jonathan.
Is there any languaging in terms of let's if we have the buyer's rep agreement and it's 3 coconuts, what happens when the client is doing what they do during listing where they're like, oh, well, I spoke to somebody and there's 2, and that whole thing. Is there a way that you can say, look,
This is
referencing this and saying we can't go higher, therefore we're going to list it at 3, but there's room to negotiate later? Or
there's always room to negotiate, right?
So that would be the language. It would be like
so it's still the same, right? We're talking about the buyer's rep agreement, not the listing agreement, right? And the listing agreement, they're going to cover, and there's a new line for that, right? For the buyer's commission and the listing agent's commission or the listing company. Anyway, they'll cover that, but it'll basically be the same. So you want to go high because you can always take less. You just can't accept more, right? Liza.
So should we add the language 3% but
Yes, we still have a cooperating brokers form too, that they're gonna cover, and it does still have the X, yes or no on the GET. April.
I won't necessarily go back and change the buyer's rep agreement, but what if I make a new buyer's rep agreement on the same day that I write the contract?
Um,
I know that you can't retroactively go back.
no, you would use,
What was the question?
the question was, do you use a new buyer's rep agreement when you're writing the offer? And no, because now you're putting it on the purchase contract or on the cooperating brokers form.
So I don't always need a buyer's representative. If, let's say, one of my old clients calls me and I don't have an old buyer's representative with them and they're like, hey, put an offer on the plate, do I still need to drop a buyer's representative?
Yes, the question is, if you have an old buyer's rep agreement that's out of date, are you saying?
Or none at all?
Or none at all? Yes, you do need a buyer's rep agreement now. Whenever you show property at the get-go, right? Not for open houses, but if you convert that open house buyer that walked in into a buyer, now you got to go have that conversation with the buyer's rep agreement, right? Okay, let's continue.
Up. What if the buyer's broker were to receive the 3 coconuts and give one to their buyer? Under the current interpretation, the understanding is that is not allowed because the buyer's brokerage firm cannot receive any number that exceeds the agreement. And we must disclose in conspicuous language that broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable, and you'll see that throughout the documents. Okay, so let's jump into the documents, and we're going to start with the purchase contract. You'll see Section C has been slightly altered in its title, and there are 2 new terms, C3 and C4. C3 provides the opportunity for the seller to provide a concession to the buyer, such as in the form of a credit. I guess a concession would be a credit. The other is seller compensation directly to the buyer's brokerage firm. So in this case, the seller would be compensating directly to the buyer's brokerage firm. And here is the disclosure language once again. There's also a new Section S1, and as you read through here, these are warrants and representations from the buyer to the seller that will mirror what appears in the buyer's representation contract. You can take a look at that at your leisure. The final section in the purchase contract has been renamed to Section U. We had to accommodate the new Section S. Good news is purchase contract is still 14 pages. Okay, and if we take a look at the counteroffer, basically the counteroffer will mirror the terms C3 and C4, allowing for the parties to negotiate whether it's a concession or a compensation directly to the buyer's brokerage firm. We'll move now into the listing contract. There's a big change here in concept. So let's spend a little bit of time here. A7, currently under A7 for most companies, A7 would be a larger amount. For example, A7 might be commission of 8 coconuts to a listing company, listing brokerage firm. And down below, when we get to 8.8, if there's a concession to a cooperating brokerage firm, that might be 4, right? Just that's an example, might be half. What we've done in the new contract, those two are completely separated. So using my same example, in A7, it would now say 4% to the listing brokerage firm. That's the amount the listing brokerage firm is going to get. If there is any compensation to the buyer's broker, it would be in addition to that amount, and it would be listed down below in the other sections. We see the disclosure one more time that is there. And again, the A7, read this first paragraph so you can understand A7 will be in addition to any additional amounts down in A8 and A9. And here in A7B, we put in a provision. The brokerage firm and the seller can contemplate in advance what if the buyer is unrepresented. From the listing brokerage firm's perspective, it might be more work, so you may want to increase that amount over A7. And here we are at A8. And this is compensation to buyer's brokerage firm. And you can see there are 3 options that are here. One, that compensation may be made by the listing brokerage firm. That would be similar to the structures that we're all used to using a cooperating broker's agreement. B, the compensation might be made directly by the seller to the buyer's representation. And then 3, the seller may select that, I would just like to negotiate it on each one. So there's no advance approval of anything. A9, this is language that allows for the concessions to be addressed in the listing contract. And you can see there are two options here. One, the concessions will be put onto MLS, and the other is that the concessions will not be put onto MLS. Under the settlement agreement, you can include this in the MLS. Buyer representation contract. So we go through, here's our disclosure language once again. Buyer representations and warranties, these are going to match what we find in the settlement agreement. The first one, that the buyer did not tour any property while working with an agent of the brokerage firm. And second, that the buyer is not a party to another exclusive buyer representation contract that would conflict with this one. And number 12, we have brokerage firm representation and warranties. Again, language directly from the settlement, that the brokerage firm will not filter or restrict multiple listing services, listings communicated to buyer based on the existence or level of compensation offered to brokerage firm. And then further, reestablishing the brokerage firm will not receive compensation that will exceed the amount or rate agreed to under this agreement. Take a look at the VA addendum, a couple of small changes.
If you could imagine your
one in section 1 or paragraph 1, you can see there's another clause that is required by the VA. We've deleted item number 3, which is the termite inspection. Under current VA rules, the buyer can now pay for the termite inspection report. Check with your lender for details. Now, under the current VA rules, buyers cannot pay for any real estate commissions or fees. Now, the VA did make an announcement a few weeks ago that they were going to suspend this provision. Nothing official or formal has come out yet. So we've kept this addendum into what is actually happening right now. If things change in the future, we will make the alterations to that. And one last one, the short sale addendum. It's just a small change to item number 11 to make sure that we were in compliance with the settlement agreement. Okay, so there it is. Please take some time to review the document provided.
Okay, so everybody, this is just an overview for everybody to sneak peek, right? To get ahead of this. There's still need to we're in the comments section right now. It's only a week because we got to get these forms out. So if you have any comments on these, send them to HAR right directly, the Hawaii Association of Realtors. When they finalize all these, we'll have classes that are more in depth than this. But I just want you guys to be starting to think about these things, right? And it won't go into effect until August, right? Under the release. But we want to get ahead of it, as our company always tries to get ahead of these things. There were a couple of questions online from Lisa and Karen. I don't know if they were answered within the video. While your hands came down, speak or forever hold your peace.
Well, actually, most of it was answered in the video, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it this morning, but I did listen to Justin and the gang this morning for the open house thing. I'm sure most people did. My question is, because I still need to go read it myself, so just want to make sure that they're going to cover all the things that Justin brought out, Jason, sorry, I keep calling him Justin. Jason brought out, Abrams, that we cover everything in the HAR. So I'm going to read it very closely and make sure it's all covered, because just want to make sure we're covered, period. So thank you very much. And Jonathan, excellent job, County, and Sasha, thank you for everything you do always.
Mm-hmm.
You have something?
Yeah, we can link this. We'll sorry, go ahead.
A listing agreement today. This comes out in 2 months. We agree with the listing agreement, and also, at what point are they going to take the percentage off the bottom if we keep the current listing agreement?
Question is, if we have a listing agreement today and it doesn't sell and this all comes out, we will probably have to do amendments to that. But we'll see what the industry does, but my guess is we'll do amendments like we've always done on things that major changes that come out, right? It might be as too big where we just go, you know what, re-sign this thing, right? Because it's too many changes in there, which is probably going to be the recommended thing to do, I'm guessing. Any other questions? Lisa, did you have your question or did you get it? I'll take your silence as the affirmative that you get your question answered. Okay, we bored you enough with that stuff. One other big thing that the Lahaina burn zone addendum has come out. We're starting to talk about it, right? Doing sales in there. We're trying to figure out what prices we're going to put on it is basically what it is. So stay tuned for that. If you do have an interested party that wants to sell, then let us know and we can, or let me know and we can get you that form. I'm hoping that they're going to post it. We were going to post it on our stuff, but I don't know if HAR is going to post that on the actually the Maui library would probably post those. Nicole?
Have they talked about the financing or?
The question is, have they talked about financing? And I don't believe so yet. But I think I mean, I don't think they've finalized anything, but I think a lot of those that don't have water or power are probably going to be cash. But we'll see, right? We're still figuring it all out. Okay, and then like I said, the new forms release will be sometime in August 17th, I think, if they can get it all together by then. Okay, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Karen, to address your point, the people who came in live, the first 10 that were here got a 1-pager of the NAR. There was a call at 6 a.m. where our company president of international went over all these details. And I wanted those of you who came in to get a copy of it. They basically would ask these questions and answered them. And we will, Karen, put those in the email attachment to you with the recap of the huddle. So when you get that email, look for these. Okay?
No, I appreciate it. I actually was at the call this morning and listened to it and got all the points. I just want to make sure that our HAR forms are going to cover all the issues so that we're not going to have to create an additional addendum. That's why I want to go reread it very closely. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay, and we have Teresa to introduce coaching. Hey, Teresa.
Thank you, Jax. Thank you, everybody else. Okay, so Role Play Wednesday. You just heard big news coming out of HAR. If you have an opportunity, you should have in your email also the open house from KW. Highly, highly, highly recommend listening to that. Do you really want to practice on your clients? Do you really want to show up as the professional and not know what to say? This is your opportunity to practice your broker's buyer's representation agreement, to practice these hard, critical conversations, to refine what your communications look like. And you've got coaches that are dedicating their time to help you whether or not you're in the coaching program. So this is from 7:30 to 8 a.m. You can show up with your own script. I can give you a script. It's also from 4:30 to 5. That will be changing effective July. It'll be moving to 12 to 12:30. We're recognizing that time is a little bit difficult. We're also going to change how it happens. The 12 to 12:30 one will probably be here in the Kahului office as well as online, so that we can have that face-to-face as we navigate what this looks like. These are really important conversations, and we want to give you the best option in how to have them. So please sign up. Yes, you have to register, and we look forward to seeing you.
1, 2, 3, jump start, right?
Jumpstart, we're in week 4 escrow, so if you're wanting to, and there's a change, so you'll notice 6/14, that has been moved to Tuesday, 6/18, because 6/14 will be at the GMM. But if you're wanting to refine your escrow, you want to go over your timelines, you want to understand what you should be looking at as you come into escrow, how you should be communicating with the other side, the conversations you should be having. Again, this is practice, because we may not always like the agent on the other side of the transaction. Is it about that agent, or is it about your client's outcome? How do we show up for our clients in these situations? So please, if you're wanting a refresher, you don't have to be in the coaching program, just come by and join us for escrow week.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Okay, so we had an awesome West Maui huddle. These are going to be the first Wednesday of the month, and we're going back to Matt Talbot's listing. Colette will be there this coming month, so please come. It's going to start at a different time to accommodate Colette's day at 10 o'clock, 10 to 11:30. And she will be sharing some industry updates, and lunch will be sponsored. And yeah, hope you guys make it. It's worth the drive. The listing's gorgeous. Randy is teaching 411. How many of you guys have been to that class? Totally worth the time. I got more out of it each time you go. So please register. And also take note, we have Keone out of office June 15th and Teresa starting the 18th. So please respect their vacations.
I'll still.
Oh, you'll still be working. Sorry. Okay, awesome.
What was it, when was Randy's class?
Oh, yeah, yes, I went too fast. Sorry. July 11th at 11 to 3.
And we're bringing in snacks, lunch.
Let's put that slide back up, please, RJ, the 411 class. Okay, so I asked you a question at the beginning. What's the big, if you're comfortable sharing, what's a mistake that you've learned from in escrow that has changed? Yes, April, thank you. Please come up. Yes. Thank you for your bravery, April. It's hard to share the failures sometimes.
No. One mistake that I had just last year was I was under contract with a woman who had just recently lost her husband. And we didn't find out until we were in escrow that they were holding title as tenants in common, which probably isn't very common out there. Generally, married couples hold it as a married couple, as in severalty. But because I didn't order, well, I did order a prelim, but I didn't delve that deep into the prelim to see how they were holding it. So by the time that he had passed away and we were under contract, we realized halfway through that she actually had to go through probate. So finding out how they're holding title, especially if you're in a situation where, you know, somebody might be terminally ill or recently passed away, to see if probate is necessary. That was a huge learning experience for me. Although we're done, almost done probate, and we should be closing in a couple of weeks. So, but a year and a half in the making. Yeah.
The idea, guys, is we all make mistakes and we get better over time. And when you're new, it's just, we wanted to share this so we can learn from each other. Anybody else? Teresa, come on up. All right.
Okay, disclosure. When in doubt, disclose. If you're wondering, should I disclose? Disclose. So earlier on, not my earliest. And again, we fail forward. Lots of mistakes, lots of things we learned from in our transactions and things we wish we had done differently so that we can continue to improve. But this particular one, we had a transaction where the unit was for sale underneath us. We were for sale. I was representing the buyer, and the unit below us wanted to renegotiate their price. Right? And so when they started complaining about a leak coming from our unit. Now, we're both in transaction. So listing agent and I worked great. We researched it, found that there was no leak, there was no issue, it was a non-issue. So I didn't say anything to my client because there was nothing to report. It was no leak, right? Fast forward to closing, and the agent who was trying to get his price lowered wanted to contact my client about the leak that doesn't exist, but still wanted to continue to go forward. Well, now I'm panicking because he's going to talk to my client, and I didn't mention it because it was a non-issue. So here we are the day of signing, and I have to tell my client, because this guy's talking about showing up on her doorstep about there might be a leak, which there was not a leak. He just wanted to renegotiate a price, but I need to tell her. And now I'm 2 weeks from the time I knew about it, the non-issue, to having to tell her that this guy may be stalking her. Was not pretty. So I will tell you, disclose, disclose, disclose. You cannot over disclose. If it costs the deal, then it's a deal you didn't need to have. But practice at role play so that it doesn't cost you the deal and you can disclose it in the proper way.
Not nice. Nice. Anybody else? One last one before we enjoy the rest of our day. This is in Washington State, but don't trust the developer address. Wrote an offer. There were 2 lots and 2 houses, and they had mislabeled the houses, the address. Ended up in contract on the wrong house, and it was contingent on a sale. So we had to wait to accept offers on this one so I could get out of the other one. Crazy mistakes you made when you're getting started.
Big Island.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Keone said that happened on the Big Island too.
They built on the wrong lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lawsuit, Teresa said right now, they built on the wrong lot. Crazy. Okay, guys, thanks for coming in, and thank you on Zoom land. Have a great week.